Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it. We'll talk about it inside. Hey scrappers, Tom here from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. We are filming this live right now. So if you see any, if you see me, if you have questions, please ask them. We're streaming live on YouTube and a bunch of other places. So ask questions. We'd love to be able to answer those. And don't forget, before I talk about the market reports for scrap, please subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and if you're interested in getting more videos, learning how to make more money on scrap, look into our YouTube member program. It just gives you early access to many of the videos that we post. I'm filming 7 videos tomorrow, so get ready for some more coming out in the next few weeks and months, as always. What's going on with the markets? Let's talk macro picture before we start talking individual metals for a second. The last week has been crazy, right? We have this tariff talk, say that 10 times fast. I don't know if I can say it twice. Copper prices, aluminum prices, steel prices, a lot of them have been affected by the tariffs, and everyone has been asking us questions. Tom, what's going to happen with the tariffs? How are the tariffs going to affect scrap? What's going to happen moving forward with the markets? I had a strong feeling when a lot of these things were announced in the beginning of April that it was going to be a much shorter period of pain than people thought. And that's really what we've seen. We've now seen the tariffs paused for all countries, including China, for the next 60 to 90 days because some of those tariffs were paused much earlier for many of the other countries. Last week, we saw the first trade deal announced with the United Kingdom. Now we're starting to see from the weekend news of the U.S. China relationship, pausing those humongous tariffs. Some of them are still on, but much less than they were. So we see those change in the markets. That's why the stock market was roaring on Monday and Tuesday this week off of the news from the Chinese negotiations over the weekend. So these are all things that are going to be affecting metals prices. I'm waiting, right? We're May 14th, so we have June, July, let's say by the middle of August. By the middle of August, going into the end of the summer, by then we should have seen between 30 and 40 trade deals announced. Now, we're going to have major trade deals between the United States, Canada, Mexico, United Kingdom, hopefully Chinese, India, Saudi Arabia, many of these other large countries that we'd like to do business with. So if we start to see more of these negotiations becoming policies, becoming trade agreements, that's going to create a lot more clarity. If that happens by July, August, like I said, within that 60 to 90 days that's left for a lot of these timers before the tariffs go up on many countries, that's really going to help the markets give a better idea for the second half of the year. So if you asked me, Tom, what do you see the markets doing? I would tell you the next 2 months are going to be relatively calm. I mean, the fact that we've seen copper prices only go down, week over week, they're down 2.3%. That's really good because to me, not only is copper one of the bellwethers to learn what's going on with the market, it's really a bellwether on what's going on with the worldwide markets because it's such a traded commodity. Now what we're going to start to see, right? And here's the dominoes, trade agreements happening. We've already seen over $10 trillion of investment committed to the United States through the current administration, whether they are through companies that are here in the United States, other ones in Saudi Arabia, like we saw yesterday. That's going to bring a bunch of money in. Then you're going to start to see plants popping up, right? You see regulations going down. You see investments going up. Now we need to start to see construction beginning. So the second half of this year, I fully expect there to be land deals done, construction deals started, and hopefully by then we're going to have a tax policy. And I don't mean to go heavy into some political type of things, but that tax policy One of the things that I'm looking for is the 100% depreciation on factories being built. So if a company like Honda or Toyota builds a factory in the United States this year, next year, they can fully depreciate that factory. Why is that important to scrap? They're going to want to build that really quickly. They're going to need massive amounts of metal really quickly. They're then going to finish construction of the manufacturing facility, whether it's with robots, just the I-beams, lots of metal needed inside. More importantly, they're then going to need feedstock, aluminum rolls, copper rolls, steel rolls. They're going to need these metals in the United States for their factories built here to make cars for here. And you're going to start to see the markets picking up steam. But again, that's going to take a while. And that's one of the reasons that we've seen steel prices dip down. We're now, I believe, 6 weeks in a row having steel prices dropping down. At Rockaway Recycling, we're paying $100 for light iron, right? And that was $180 a few months ago. So I can see humongous market, going down 45% in the last 80, 90 days. It will take time for that to recoup. The steel mills in this country are overrun with materials right now. We had a little problems with the export market because of tariffs. That's starting to have that pause button put on. But now you're going to start to see the markets having lots and lots of material into these mills. There are new mills currently being built. I know of one down in Virginia that's being built right now, so that's really great. But now you're going to start to see more of these mills producing steel and aluminum inside of the United States, feeding these manufacturing facilities, and that's going to lead to much longer term growth for the scrap markets. More metal staying in the country. It might not go up to 400 or 500 a ton, but we should start to see numbers approaching 200 a ton on light iron by the end of this year into early next year, once we start to see taxes being secured, investments becoming materialized and not just being talked about, by these heads on TV, but buckets in the ground, shovels in the ground, steel going in after. These are things that are going to be really strong and really positive. So I'm going to take a quick pause. Do we have any questions to go over, Virginia?
We just have a comment.
Yeah, great. Give me the comment. Waltwood, now that tariffs are being stopped and trade deals are agreed on, the prices will fluctuate, but I think it will rise sooner than later. Let's hope. Walt, I agree with you. A lot of what I just talked about, you mimicked in that phrase, really smart. But I do think that this will take 6 to 8 months to really hit. I think the fourth quarter of this year, you'll start to see an uptick, then a small downtick because of the holidays. But I do believe that a year from today, in May of 2026, we're really going to start to see those factories humming along, either being built or parts of them being built, and they might just start operating in parts while they're building more things out. So those are things we're looking for. Thank you, Walt. So let's talk about the markets for a second. Copper prices, week over week, down 2.3%. Not a big deal. I'm not really worried about that because I have great news for the copper markets. Because the tariffs have been paused on the Chinese, remember I've talked about spreads for the last few weeks, right? The spreads that scrapyards get were being widened. We're now seeing them shrinking. And just on Tuesday, I saw my spreads go from, let's say 50 cents a pound on copper down to 40 cents. I'm making up the numbers, but they were reduced by 10 cents. That's 10 cents that I can put back into the prices that I pay at the scale. And you can see some of the markets on here. You can see some of the prices and some of the fluctuations that we've seen, but we're back at the levels that we were at before Liberation Day in early April. That's a great thing because now we're going to start to see positive growth signs. The tax details were released the other day. Investment details are continuing to be released. We're going to start to see these things coming into fruition. materializing both physically and metaphorically. And then we're going to start to see demand picking up for copper. But right now, I wouldn't be holding copper at all. If I got it in, I would be getting it out. One of the few items that I would, that I've said really never to hold on to copper. So move your materials. If you are holding on to anything, I would pick Bear Bright to hold on to. Sure, it's the highest value, but the chances are it takes you the most time to prepare. It will have your highest payout. And if you see a 30, 40 cent fluctuation in the market, that's going to help you make some more money. So that's something that I would think about. Just to give you a little food for thought, Rockaway Recycling, I think we're $3.50 right now for Bear Bright. So above the national average, but we have seen those markets moving down over the last month. Any copper questions, Virginia? No? So just a couple things that I'm going to read that I read over the last week. Copper and other industrial metals saw a sharp rise driven by optimism from easing trade tensions. At the same time, gold dropped over 2% due to reduced demand for safe haven assets as the U.S. China tensions eased. Gold may be up year end by over 20%, this article said. So, it's nice to see these tariffs being relieved. Don't forget, this is a temporary 90-day pause. Hopefully, we'll see a deal struck by day 45. You don't want to get over the halfway point and not have any progress, especially with such a large country like China. So these are going to be the things that we look for, but it looks like a lot of these plans are working. We now see the stock market up. We see copper prices, even if not up for the year. These are good things to look at. Steel, I'll talk about it. Steel prices suck. Okay, that's it. I generally don't say it like that. I'm still not holding on to any steel. I don't recommend that you hold on to any steel. If you have it in your truck and you don't have to process it down to get the non-ferrous, don't touch it. We had a comment last week from someone that said, oh, I don't even touch the steel anymore. And I'm just going to reiterate this because it's so important. When steel prices are this low, that's when you can pick up more material from new customers. So if you're a full or part-time scrapper, don't just drive by the steel. Pick it up because you may be able to develop more materials coming in. That's going to be good for you long term. That's how I look at it. When we have low steel prices, we try to get a little more aggressive. This way we can get more customers. So when the steel prices go up, sure, maybe we break even for a period of time, but long term, that's what we look at. We can grow our business. And for us, it would mean dropping more dumpsters and having more pickups of customers. So hopefully that gives you a little things to think about. But this is from Metal Miner in the Q1 of 2025. Chinese steel exports to different ASEAN countries surged by 32%, totaling 36.5 million tons, which accounted for 70% of Chinese total steel exports. Do not forget, they can't sell the material to us because we put so many tariffs on them. They had to sell a lot of their material to other places. I heard that they sold a lot of their material at steep discounts because all of a sudden for the last month and a half they couldn't sell it to the United States because the tariffs were affecting them so much. In the second half of that, India imposed a 12% safeguard duty on Chinese steel products due to to protect its local industry. So the Indians saw that there was a lot of material coming out of China. They put their own mini tariff into effect just to be able to make sure that they weren't going to be flooded. They weren't going to flood the Indian market with so much cheap Chinese steel because India is still a large producer of steel. If you look, one of the things that I've seen most often in so many places across the country, India makes lots of cast iron grates, water grates, whether you see them on the streets, the sidewalks, manhole covers. So there's a lot of material that comes from there, those specifically, and they have a really big steel manufacturing and recycling business. So they didn't want their markets to be flooded either. Stainless steel, I talk about that for a couple of seconds here. Nickel prices are up 1% week over week. Stainless steel prices are slightly up, maybe by a penny. It continues to be the one item I recommend holding. I don't say it often, but I have said it for pretty much every report this entire year and going back into 2024. 304 stainless is a great item that doesn't have a great use right now. So with a national average around 32 cents right now, we're not seeing big upticks in purchasing. We're not seeing big upticks in trading, and we're not seeing the ability to use and manufacture and recycle it as great inside the United States. But really, we don't see a demand for it inside of cars or anything else. So those are the things that we look at to really gauge what's going on with the stainless market. So right now, I continue to recommend holding on to your stainless, because I do see a world, even within 12 to 18 months, where stainless prices could double, because we're going to start to see more of a need for the materials that we're not seeing right now. Catalytic converters. Week over week, platinum and palladium are up over 1%. Rhodium is slightly down. Here's what I'm looking for in the catalytic converter markets. What's going to happen with U.S. interest rates? They're now predicting that in June and July, because we've seen inflation year over year go down, 3 months in a row go down, gas, oil prices going down. If we start to see interest rates decreasing, now originally they were expected to have 2 to 3 rate cuts, but if we see interest rate decreasing, so then the loan that you take out on a new car, that interest goes down, and then you pair the taxes where they're saying that you can deduct your interest from your taxes, that's another tax savings. You may see similar to what happened in 2008 with Obama's program, where they were getting the cash for clunkers, getting a lot of these old cars off the streets and new cars with better gas mileage on the streets. It may not be that, but if you do start to see interest going down and the interest rates being deductible, that could increase the purchasing for new cars. And because the EV mandates are going to be lifted, that gives us the ability to see more vehicles being purchased. If more of them are gas engines, could uptick the amount of materials that are needed from catalytic converters. That's a good sign when it comes to metals. Any questions to go over? Okay. Other items, aluminum, week over week, down less than 1%. Not concerning. Aluminum is such a great item, and there's such a great recycling loop set up for aluminum in the United States that what we're going to see affecting the aluminum markets are going to be deals with Mexico and deals with Canada. Those two countries, because of the USMCA and because of the 25% steel and aluminum tariffs that are being placed on them right now, those tariffs are going to affect the prices. And we've talked about a lot of this in our other YouTube videos that you can check out and look at. So when I look at these markets, there's very few people that I talk to in the scrap industry that are just saying, oh, I'm going to hold on to my material right now. I just don't see that happening. I see strong aluminum markets. I see strong copper markets. I see weakened steel markets with a long-term perspective, but a short-term perspective is get more accounts, get more material, pull the non-ferrous off of it. Check out our YouTube videos to see how you can make more money on it. You know, going into Memorial Day, you got new grills, new air conditioners, new opportunities to make money on items, even when they're cheap. You know, I never want to see you say, oh, I don't do it anymore because the prices were too low. No, don't do that. We want you to be able to find ways to make money, and getting more money through learning about this is just going to help you overall. So that's my weekly report for the week. Overall, I actually had a couple of questions that I will go over from last week, and then we'll go from there. So again, we're still live. Any questions, ask them. One question: the problem with yards accepting ingots is certification, correct? And they said question mark. If it were a licensed business and certified, you would buy it as ingots, right? So the answer to the ingot question, because that's one of our most popular YouTube videos that we've made all time, homemade ingots are suspect at scrap yards because we don't know what you put in. So like if you brought me a copper ingot and you told me you only put copper in it, how the hell am I going to know that? Am I going to cut it open? What if I cut it open, there's a big piece of rebar in it? So ingots being purchased, they would have to be brand new stamped ingots with certifications from a business. I probably wouldn't accept it from individuals. So that's how I look at the ingot market. That's why I don't make them. That's why I don't recommend scrappers making them unless they're for a hobbyist type of thing, because selling to a scrapyard really sucks. Question? Let's see. Roger said, help. After years as underground utility specialist, I've amassed my retirement bonus in scrap copper price and brass fittings. Is it a good time to cash in? Roger, congrats on retirement. Absolutely, it's a good time to cash in. And I'd love for you to cash in at Rockaway Recycling. Send us an email or a message through iScrap. We've seen yellow brass prices in the 220 to 230 range, red brass 260 to 270 range, copper prices in 315 to 350 range. So make sure you're in a really good area that has strong prices. Use the iScrap app to check the markets. If you're around New Jersey, send us a message. Even in the tri-state area, we may make it worth your while to drive out, give you some swag, buy your scrap, and shake your hand. Another question we had last week: should I sort my magnetic versus non-magnetic stainless steel? Yes. I'm sorry. If my yard doesn't have a price difference, what should I do? I don't know what yard wouldn't have a price difference on magnetic versus non-magnetic. So if you have a yard that's going to take magnetic stainless at the same price as non-magnetic stainless, you run there and cash all of your magnetic stainless in as quickly as possible, because 304 we just saw was averaging 32 cents. 400 series stainless, which is what magnetic stainless would be, let's say it's like a 404 or a 410, is like 10 cents a pound, 8 cents a pound. So if you can get 32 cents for magnetic property items, freaking sell them as quickly as you can. Absolutely. But again, I've never heard of that. So if you found a yard that doesn't know what they're doing, I don't want to tell them you to take advantage of them, but that's on them, right? That's on them. Another question we had: is it worth processing or trying to clean enameled copper? So enameled copper, it doesn't have a coating on it like insulated wire would, right? It has this like layer that's sprayed on there to help conductivity and prevent corrosion. I don't know how you would clean it. I don't know how you would clean enameled copper. Maybe if it had insulation on it, but processing enameled copper, short of making it into an ingot, which we just talked about 2 minutes ago, I don't know a good way to sell it. Normally, we buy enameled copper as a number 2. I don't know how you could upgrade it to a number 1. Sometimes there's paper or thicker casings on it, so that may hurt or help, depending on what it is. But normally, we buy it as a number 2, and hopefully that gives you a better idea. But don't make it into an ingot. Another question. DJ, what are pure zinc scrap materials I can find? So zinc is normally used to be made into, they use it inside steel products, but pure zinc would be old toys, some newer lamps that are put out there where they're made to look like brass, but they're actually just like a die cast or a zinc property, and they kind of powder coat them with a brass color. Those are pure zinc items. If there's other ones out there, those are the ones that are most common that you would find on a day-to-day scrapping tour. Anything else? So scrappers, markets for non-ferrous are really strong outside of stainless steel. Copper prices are still great. Continue to tune in, continue to post your prices. We've seen so many more people posting their prices, which is helping these national scrap averages and helping us to learn more, to give you more information so you learn how to make more money with your scrap. Continue to ask us questions. Generally, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we're live. We love seeing these questions come in, so please let us know. But if you're watching our videos later on, ask them, and we'll post them like we did here and try to answer them. So if you don't tune in live, you can get your answers as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate you coming in. My name is Tom from Rockaway Recycling and the iScrap app. And until next week, I'll scrap.